Presents. We both seen this one last week, and tell us a bit more about it, Dave. It's been written by David Koepp. Is that right?
David Koepp? Yeah,
David Koepp.
Have you looked up his filmography?
No, but I will now.
I saw you've written some of it here. Jurassic Park, Mission Impossible.
Yeah,
Indiana Jones.
that's right.
I recognize his name. He's very, 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 very famous. He's been working for a long time. Soderbergh as well, the director, also very, very famous, right? Oscar winner, I believe. Like Ocean's 11 is famous.
Yeah.
My favorite film of his is Unsane.
I've not seen that one.
It's a tiny little horror movie that he shot on an iPhone, apparently.
Oh, cool.
Starring Claire Foy. That was great. But this one, I knew basically nothing going in, honestly. I think I may have seen a trailer, not sure. I just lap up any horror movie that pops up at Odeon.
Yeah, I mean, the only one I've got is Lucy Liu, who plays the character Rebecca, is the mother in this. That's really mostly the cast name I know in this. She's kind of
it was nice to kind of see her in the trailer. I haven't really seen her in anything that I can think of for a long time.
Yeah, and then we got Chris Sullivan as Chris, Carlina Lang as Chloe, Eddie Maddie as Tyler, and there's basically your main cast, to be honest. Parents and kids, and within the cast. So, what did you reckon to this, then, Dave? Did you enjoy this one?
I enjoyed it, actually, quite a bit. I wouldn't say it was amazing, but I seem to have liked it a lot more than most people have done, to be honest. Like I say, I knew very little going in. Even if I did see a trailer, I certainly had no idea as to like the main gimmick of the film.
Yeah,
which is that basically the camera is from the point of view of the presence for the entire duration, right?
Yeah, I had no idea. It's a very much first person. It's kind of it's almost found footage.
It is. That's it's an interesting kind of like evolution of that. I think about maybe a few years ago they were doing these actually kind of pretty appropriate that we're talking about it now, where they do these horror movies from the perspective of like a Zoom call or something.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a fun evolution of the found footage genre. And now this, maybe this is the first in many that are going to kind of like ape this kind of like, because the camera itself, being the point of view of the presence, it makes the camera kind of an element of the story, right? Which is like the sign of a found footage film. But yeah, I mean, what did you make of it anyway?
I enjoyed it. I found it was interestingly done. I was watching it, and after I'd watched it, we left the cinema, and there was some people out there asking for our opinions on it with iPads and stuff. And
oh, really?
And a couple of the people who came out of the cinema went, "No, I'm not doing that. It was crap. Oh, it was really bad." I actually really quite enjoyed it. I thought it was a good film. It isn't so much. It's a ghost story more than a horror film in a way. I know it's under the. It's like a sort of haunting, but it's I wasn't scared really throughout. I thought it was an interesting look into a sort of dysfunctional family. They're all kind of very modern, like technology driven. The mother is always working. The father is kind of falling apart around it, and the kids, they don't talk to each other. They hate each other. They hate the parents. There's no hugs. There's no kisses. Everyone's on their phone around the dinner table. If they're around the dinner table, I don't know if you noticed throughout the film, but not one of them did a home cooked meal. It was always like either microwave meals or they order takeaway. Let's get a burrito.
Yeah, and they never eat together either, right? Like
no,
they make a point. When they leave the kids alone, right? Like at least try to order from the same place.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a pretty good kind of like representation of how distant they are. I mean, yeah, it's basically a family drama, right? A family drama with a ghost. It felt to me, I don't know if this is a fair assessment or not, but it felt like a modern Gothic story. Like the house, I mean, it's just not like a traditional Gothic house, but it was very large and very empty. And to me, I just kind of like it felt like a modern take on that. And I mean, I'm not like super well versed in Gothic stories, but the ones that I've seen that I like, tend to incorporate supernatural elements, but they're not always antagonistic. In fact, very rarely are. They're normally sympathetic ghosts, and it's normally the human characters actually that are the villains. And that's very much true in this story, right? Without going into spoilers right now.
Definitely. I think it's a very kind of brave film, actually. I think, would you normally make a film like this? And I'm not so sure you would. So I think to have it out in the cinemas and to be marketed in the way it is actually quite good. It's nice to have something a little bit more experimental in this sort of space. So I quite like that element of it.
Do you know if Steven Soderbergh is making a lot of mainstream films these days? Because I know that he's got another one coming out very soon, right, with Michael Fassbender.
Yeah,
but it seems like he's just like making them like quick and cheap and just doing kind of fun things that he wants to make. Like I said, that from a few years ago.
That's good, isn't it?
No, I agree. I mean, he's made big, massive, like blockbuster Hollywood films for a long time. But like I say, like the one that I was like is Unsane, which he did in like a small cast with Claire Foy. Just at, like the cusp of fame. I guess, he's kind of done with Hollywood. He's done it for a long time and he's just ready to make these smaller films now.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice. It's nice to see. I mean, we've talked about famously on the podcast about not Jurassic Park, Joker 2, and the fact that cost $200 million basically to make a courtroom drama film. And it's kind of we're looking to be going back in some way on some of these big blockbusters, and the fact a film like this can be created for a fraction of the price of that, and is much more entertaining. It's shorter. It does a lot of things that just makes it better and able to be more experimental in such a way. So I think it's well worth going to see, and if you can, just at the theatre, because it's just a fun. It can be fun. You might hate it. I think it's going to be a bit like Marmite, in fact. It
definitely does seem to be pretty polarizing, at least from what I've seen. I mean, for that alone, I would recommend it.
Definitely.
Go and form your own opinion. It's at least something I haven't seen before, at least that I can think of. It's a fun gimmick.
Yeah.
And yeah, you never know. It might really click for you like it did for me.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed it as well. So before we end and go into the next film, let's just do a quick spoiler chat on this one. So did you like the reveal then, Dave? I think that's what people want to know, the reveal of who the ghost is.
Yes, I liked the reveal of who the ghost was. There was something, I'm not sure if this is intentional or not, but one thing that I noticed was that, of course, the daughter is super receptive. And towards the end of the film, in fact, the very final sequence where the brother's still alive, he becomes receptive.
Yeah.
And after he's passed away, the final scene of the film, the mother is then receptive, right? So I kind of got the sense that it was kind of hereditary in that way, like it came from her originally, and that the father just had none of it. But ironically, he was the one that believed the daughter first, right?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Potentially not being as perceptive as like the mother and the children. So yes, I like that twist. And I suspected it would when they mentioned that the medium comes to the house and mentions that it's confused and it doesn't perceive things in the right order. I was like, okay, right. So maybe it's the ghost of someone in the house that hasn't died yet. So I wasn't super surprised by it. I was expecting it to be the daughter. I guess the one reveal that I didn't like was the villain of the story.
Yeah, the Tyler's friend.
Yeah.
He was a bit. Yeah.
He just became like a comic book serial killer villain.
He did, and he was a bit. I thought it was that. If I've got a criticism of the film, it's that last third, and the finale is a little bit rushed. Yes. I felt like suddenly you go from this building and building and building to all of a sudden this guy, as you say, is coming across as like a bloody Ted Bundy. Like it goes from there's no inkling of it at all until he tries to put something in a glass earlier on, but you think, oh, he's kind of dodgy, but he does then become this huge serial killer without much really giving you that vibe, and very quickly.
Yeah, it was a little bit too much. I don't think it was even necessary for him to be so evil. I mean, he was already evil. In my opinion, just the act of spiking her drink alone is evil enough. I think to center the story around. He could have just done it again. without revealing that he was the one that killed the other two girls, and that, you know, evidently, like, he has some kind of pathology of like nihilism or something, where he just, or he,
Yeah.
I don't know, like he's something like about taking the power back, right, taking control back. It was too much and kind of unnecessary and very cheesy.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm with you on that. I just, I think it's an enjoyable experience and a good film in a sense, but kind of lacks a little bit of a punchy ending. I think they put all their eggs into the basket of the reveal in the mirror, because they tease that mirror for quite a lot of the film, don't they? So it's an old mirror and something's really close to, and it's obviously the mother who then sees her son in there. And we built
that was really good, actually.
That was brilliant.
It made me jump when we see him revealed. That was really,
that bit is really haunting.
Yeah.
The whole film is sort of built up to that moment, and it's like they've put a lot of effort into that, but the bit before seems to be a bit clumsy, where he wakes up and jumps upstairs and then they both go out the window. It feels a little bit, I was like, whoa, that was quick. That just sort of happens. But I guess in a way, life to death is just that. So in some senses it can work. I just don't know if it did in this film.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Maybe like the third act, like the final scene with the mother seeing the son in the mirror, as you say, was brilliant. Almost like they had that idea first and just wanted to make it happen. So no problems with that. But I think everything before, as you say, maybe they could have toned down the villain. I think they could have still had all the basic same beats, so they could have just toned it down a little bit. And you know, I don't know. Would you have increased like the confrontation between them, or did you like that it was just quick, that he just threw him out a window and that was it?
I think the issue for me is maybe they increased it a little bit, but also I don't mind that it was like that, but it comes out of somewhere like the film. I didn't think it was building quite to the very end at that point. And then it sort of does happen. It's like, oh, that's it. Whoa. And it's kind of one and done. And I'm not sure I quite gelled with that. And I don't know if that's going to be jarring for a public audience to go in and see that they've been built this film, which is quite slow. It's quite slow building. Like, it's not like your Paranormal Activity when the first night is a chair moves, and then the next night someone gets really scared. None of that really happens. It's so little steps throughout the film that I think people were expecting the slow burn to be paid off in a different way, perhaps. I'm not entirely sure of that third act, but I don't mind it. But I also do think some people will really hate that.
Yeah, and I'm actually thinking about it as you were talking, because there are some like kind of plot elements that end up kind of fizzling out, right? Like there's something happening with the mother at her job, right? And there's obviously like marital difficulties with the mother and father. You know, ultimately those plots don't really go anywhere. He just kind of the father like kind of commits himself against the mother at the end, right?
Yeah.
But I think maybe it would have been better to reincorporate that in some way into the climax, rather than having the son's friend be the ultimate villain. Like maybe make one of the parents do it. You know,
potentially.
Because there's also the creepy obsession that the mum has with the son. So they could have
that is a bit strange, isn't it?
It's very like that one scene is very weird, and
where she's drunk.
Yeah, and she's like hitting on him.
Yeah. Everything's for you.
Yeah. So I don't know, like I don't know, just off the top of my head, you know, like maybe make the mother like the villain more. The villain, and the son then stands up to her in the finale and dies or something. I mean,
arguably, in a way, she is the villain in the piece, and this guy is a bit of the sort of super villain at the end. But she could be potentially the villain because the father has to go, you know, you've got two daughters. She flies off the handle over little things. She gets
exactly
drunk.
That's what I mean. Like, it would have been much more kind of cohesive to make her the actual villain of the climax, rather than. Because she's the villain of the family, right? With the family drama, which is the first 2/3 of the film. And so to make her explicitly the villain of the film would have felt a bit neater.
But then again, the whole idea of her not being that and is actually, you think all the time she spent working and doing things and without asking the rest of the family is now potentially horrific in the sense that it's for nothing. The son is dead. She missed out on all family time, personal time, and having fun to build a future which will never be. So there's a tragedy to that. There's an irony, and perhaps that's part of it as well.
Yes, it's like it's true. That if you kind of if you extrapolate beyond what's shown on the film and you think about what her life would be like afterwards, then yes, I think that like the horrific situation, I think it affects her, right? And she presumably will have a big life change after the events of the film. And again, like, I would be somewhat reluctant to cut her kind of breakdown at the end because I did think that final scene was really good. But I just think maybe change the villain of the story in some way.
Yeah.
Or, maybe she doesn't have to die at the end, but the son still dies. They don't both have to go out the window, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
She's doing something and the son stops her and he ends up dying, but she doesn't. And then she is like a double lesson for her, right? Like, not only does she have to live without her prized son, but it's her fault.
Yeah, I like that. It's quite good. Yeah. I do like I like it as it's refreshing to me, this film, because it doesn't do what Paranormal Activity did. It tries to break ground that hasn't been broken for quite a long time within a story, and it's quite, in a way, even though there's this awful character who date rapes and kills girls, like there's an uplifting point to the film that the brother is actually protecting his sister, and it's kind of wholesome in that respect. It's not just a presence that is going to kill the family and kill everyone it comes into contact with.
It's true. Yeah, I was definitely somewhat expecting it to be. Once I realized what was going on with the camera, that it was the presence, in the house. I was kind of expecting it to be sinister, and I was kind of looking forward to that in a way, but it definitely would have been less interesting overall. I was expecting the presence to like try and convince the daughter that it was her dead friend, like Nadia, I think the name is. And I was kind of looking forward to, anticipating that happening and looking forward to it in a kind of campy way, but I think ultimately it would have been less interesting overall. I think making it like a benevolent presence in the house and also kind of a consequence of something of like a time loop, I think is really interesting.
So what's your rating out of 10? Difficult.
Let's go 7. 7
Okay.
sounds good. Yep.
Yeah, I reckon it's around 6.5 to 7. It's something like that. I can't quite put my finger on it. I enjoyed it. I did. I'd see it again because now I know a bit more. I'd like to see if there's anything extra in there. But
maybe there's a lot more foreshadowing on a second.
Potentially, maybe on another watch. But I think it's a good experimental film. Something a bit different. So yeah, 6.5 to 7.